Hello, Gonky.
Of course. Hello, Mover.
It's just me and you.
Yeah, it just must be me and you tonight.
Just me and you. We've run off all the people. Season, oh look, I lost the banner. Season 2, episode 5. We're only a few episodes left in season 2. So we have got to do it right.
There's actually no rhyme or reason to when this.
There is. We hit a Gonky year. Then we hit episode 69, which will start season 3.
That's true.
That
makes sense.
I mean,
that makes perfect sense.
I don't make the rules here.
We could just stop at episode 69 and they'll all be episode 69 after that.
Yes.
Part
Douglas,
1.
hello. How have you been, sir?
I've been all right.
Good. Mover, how have you been? What's been going on?
Dude, I finished my operating experience in the Dreamliner.
Oh, how'd that go?
Well,
just or there's a story.
Well, this is how it went.
I learned some things, and I appreciate it. I tell you what, say what you want, but our check airmen are awesome. The guys I flew with were great, and I appreciated their patience with me and the stuff that they taught me. And you know what? You don't land very well when they start saying, "Hey, you need to land. Don't float. Just make sure you get in the touchdown zone." And I'm like, "Well, I wasn't thinking about that before you said it. I just had my plan." And so to the 233 passengers that now need neck adjustments and back adjustments, I apologize, but I passed. So,
well, do you have a HUD on your side?
Yeah. So, and that's my technique. So what I was doing from the sim, right? Because that's where you figure out these techniques is you take the flight path marker velocity. I don't even know what it's called anymore. It's like all the 3 jets that I've flown with HUDs now, it all blends together. But 40 feet, you kind of start easing back, and then you put the flight path marker just under the horizon line, and then squeaking on. Well, they say, "Hey, what's your technique?" You tell them that, they're like, "Oh, no, you want to go down to 30 feet." I'm like, "Okay, well, 30 feet. No, it's a little firm." And then it's the last leg, and he's like, "Okay, I'll sign you off if as long as you don't float down, 3,000 feet or whatever, because this airplane, all it wants to do is float. I mean, it is a, very slick wing. Kind of reminds me of the F-16. It just wants to keep flying." And so I'm like, I'm not going to float, So you hear it going, and then you get to that 10 feet, and you're like, okay. And wow, here we go, because you don't want it to float too much.
I'm curious. Do you guys have auto thrust or throttles all the way to landing?
At 27 feet, 25 feet is when it brings itself back.
Wow, look at
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. It's 20 something, 27 or 25. I don't remember. That's probably, hope he's not listening.
Yeah.
At 30, that's usually when you start guiding it back.
Retard.
But it's funny because I think I told you this story, Gonky. We were coming back Philadelphia, right? And we're at 36,000 feet. And on the center frequency, we realized that there's a United flight in front of us with the exact same call sign. And nobody says anything until like the second or third sector. And they're like, hey, just be advised, there's 2 flights with the same numbering. So we're following them. We realize we're both going to Dallas, so I looked it up later. It was a United 737-900 coming out of Newark. We just happened to be same way, same day. And about midway through, as we start Memphis Center, they're like, okay, we need you guys to slow to, slow. I was like 0.7 something Mach. And my captain's like, dude, we can go to 40 if you want. And I was like, oh, let's go, let's go home time. So we asked him, they're like, oh yeah, go to 40. Dude, we landed 10 minutes ahead of them. Like I looked up the time because 7.8, its happy place is 0.86.
That's fast.
And the 7.3 is like 7.7, 7.8,
Yep.
So it is a faster airplane with a very efficient wing that'll go up, 41,000 feet and fly fast. So, I mean, it's cool. It's everything I think that the 7.3 Max should have been. Like if Boeing, but is it? Yeah. Boeing has had all that ancestor worship.
Yep.
And they just like keep polishing that turd instead of clean sheet design and putting all the news. Now, granted, the 7.8 has some ancestor worship stuff as well. There's some stuff in that airplane that you're just like, why are we still doing this? Like, why? But for the most part, a lot of the stuff has been fixed. So I feel cool
good
about that. So what have you been up to, man?
Dude, just, working on projects, family life. I'm getting ready for my check in the in the airplane, so I'm starting to study a little bit.
How the mighty have fallen. What just happened?
What just happened?
No idea.
You kicked off
and came back.
It Doug, didn't just happen. Yeah, I thought it was only happening to me, but
no.
we went off and we came back.
Hey,
now you guys are reversed.
Yeah, I didn't touch a thing. My hands have been back. I'm looking at me now.
Me too. It's just weird. Put me back.
I don't know why that happened. Anyway, I guess that was the cue. But yes, how the mighty have fallen of 2 old guys talking about landing passenger airliners.
Yeah.
To start off a very cool show.
Yeah, makes me feel older, mover.
Speaking of which,
no
Doug, did you know it's somebody's birthday tomorrow?
Well, it's not mine.
Or the next day.
And I'm pretty sure I know when yours is.
Yeah. Dude, I can't stop this trip. I keep going around the sun. It's crazy.
Well, it's better than the alternative.
That's true. I
mean, so happy birthday.
Thanks, man.
Everybody I know that knows you thinks you look young.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, man. The camera takes away about 10 years, but up close.
Not for me, dude. Everybody thinks I'm retired and a senior citizen. Like, what the
hell?
You
are kind of retired.
They think Mover's my age.
well, lifestyle, but not actual age.
Like, dude, you know what? I think I'd rather be retired, but not look it.
Well, that's Gonky. Old Gonky.
Yeah. I don't know, dude. Yeah. So no, dude, just working on projects. I'm working on another kid's book. Happy birthday, apparently it's Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson has just wished me happy birthday.
How old is Mike Tyson?
I'm not going to guess.
He's in his 50s, huh?
Dude, why don't we just ask the Google? Google knows.
Computer. How old is Mike Tyson?
He's my age.
That doesn't help us.
58.
Here we go.
You're 58?
Yes, sir.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's what happens when you graduate high school in 1984.
Wow.
Man. How's a good year? Footloose.
That's the well, it's not a good year for the Corvette.
No,
it was a terrible year for Corvettes.
Corvette year at all.
Whenever we thought they couldn't make something worse than the C3.
Yeah, that was the
ceasefire.
The C4, yeah.
The
LT1 C4?
No, that was LT1 was 92.
L98 was it the 98?
Yeah,
L98
so it wasn't even that good.
Oh, L98 was 85 because that was the
Crossfire.
The Crossfire, yeah, I don't know what they named that thing, but it was known as the ceasefire.
some lame-o Malays era 350 small block.
Well, Gonky, how old are you in Gonky years?
Oh, dude, the same, man.
I got to do that math.
I can't do that math.
57 weeks in a year.
Too much pressure, man. Yeah, exactly. Give or take a few. I mean,
plus or minus.
Like? What do you feel like today?
84.
84. whenever the senior citizens discount is for whichever state I'm in.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
69.
man.
You'll always be 69.
I'll be 69 years old. Doug, anything exciting?
Still no.
No. All right.
I mean, I've been doing a lot of first-person shooters with Mover and Hatchet. That's exciting. We finished the hospital.
Nice. Well, we really didn't.
And we're counting that.
We died. I
finished the hospital.
You finished the hospital. We did not finish the hospital. So you definitely finished. We've been playing this nerd game called Ready or Not. SWAT simulator.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to play such games.
My dad, who was a police officer, made very much fun of me for saying I was playing realistic police games. So you get shot, you shoot people. Like, none of those things are true.
Yeah, kind of reminds me of other games. Right, Mover?
Yes.
But, well, cool, dude. You want
to talk about show stuff?
Sorry, hit a couple.
You got angry people already texting me. It's like, why? We can't even get 10 minutes into the show and somebody's mad at me.
Yeah, well, everybody was mad at you about what you said about not wanting to fly Vipers in Ukraine. I thought that was, I thought you were very cordial. And
I posted this on Twitter today. The way you piss off the world is metric is commie. Because people take that personally. I've never seen a unit of measure be taken so personally than the metric system.
That's
and
funny.
To have a neutral stance on Ukraine and a neutral stance on Russia, because if you're not overwhelmingly one way or the other for those two things, you're like I was reading, like, somebody called me a Russian bot whose username was Dwight Schrute, which I'm pretty sure is a Russian bot. Somebody, like, I'm just reading these going, why are these people so mad?
So angry. They're so angry, dude.
So
I know.
Should I start telling people that my check pistol is .35 caliber? My CZ.
So I guess because it's like they're so.
Yeah,
I don't know, Gonky. So I posted the video, which I don't know if you saw, the F-16 Moonfish.
Yeah, he got killed.
And I went off the New York Times thing that said a Patriot shot it down. And man, I mean, a Patriot, that is a thing.
Yeah.
That was a thing for us.
Yeah. It's not the first time it's done a blue on blue.
No. And what I pointed out was that the Ukrainian Patriot operators are relatively inexperienced. And people are like, no, they've been shooting down stuff for 2 years. And I'm like, well, they have no experience integrating with Western aircraft, which is a whole thing. I mean, we do all kinds of stuff to integrate all the time and still screw it up. I mean, how many red flags have you been to exercises where jet turns cold, Fox 3 hostile, and you're like, whoa, dude, not them, them, and you're trying to snip it because you think that's going to do anything.
They still count it.
Yeah,
it still gets counted.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, sure. But that was one of the, I guess, more prominent explanations, especially when they fired the head of the Air Force. There was also, which I didn't talk about, which I've seen after, One was that a Su-57 shot it down, which I think is highly implausible, but not impossible.
Right.
Then there was the other, which I think is highly plausible, which is night threat reaction, low level control flight in the terrain, because that'll get anybody, especially in the F-16, which is a high spatial D machine. I don't know if they're flying on night vision goggles, but I assume they are. And dude, night vision goggles are hard. It's difficult to do under great circumstances, much less when you're being shot at. And then there was the last one, which was they didn't even make it off the ground, that a cruise missile just took them out in the hangar, and that was what happened. So, I mean, obviously we don't know, fog of war and all that stuff, but I mean, Patriots have taken out Hornet dudes.
Oh, Hornets, tornadoes. I mean, the sad thing is right. I mean, more people are getting killed in the conflict. That guy, I saw a picture of that, the pilot, he had a family and stuff, man. Like, they showed a picture of his funeral and stuff. So, that's why we're neutral, because, actual war kind of sucks.
Yeah. And I don't know about, neutral as much as there's just not all the information.
Right. Yes.
That's the thing, is you try to look at this from, we don't try to take the political side of things. We try to take I'm a fighter pilot. How do I look at something? Yep. Now, granted, we spent a lot of our career, not a lot of it, but we were raised by fighter pilots of the Cold War. So the fighter pilots of the Cold War always think, the red threat, the Russian threat, so that's how we kind of perceive things.
Yeah, no, I know. It's funny, a lot of the comments were, oh, you're a bunch of
cowards.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. Some of these people are really triggered, but when I was younger, even now as a getting older person, like, there is a part of me that always wants to be tested. That's one of the things I enjoyed about being a fighter pilot, but I'm obviously much older and more mature now, and I see things differently.
Yeah. I already went on that whole spiel when we talked about this last time. And one of the things that in the comments, because I read those too, they were like, well, you're just a coward because you need to only fight people in sandals.
Yep.
And dude, we have trained our entire careers against this threat. It's not just, we didn't, that was the easy, I say relatively, as far as what we trained against, that was the easy part, was going down range, obviously a different skill set, but we trained to the highest level of what would be there. So it's not a training issue. It's not a fear issue. It's a logistics issue. I go down range with no support, with nothing that I've trained with, for a cause that I don't have.
Yep.
Say what you want about what we did for 20 years, moving rocks, making big rocks into small rocks or whatever, but I swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And we have talked about this in the Mental Health Minute, that when you get downrange because your government and your country sent you there and said, please go do this for us, you fight for the person next to you and your bros in the squadron, the people back home, because they have sent you and trusted you to do this. That is not included in going and joining a foreign military where you get none of that support. And, if you die, okay.
Well, I would say to all the haters, they're also accepting help for ground forces too. So you can go over there and help with the ground effort as well, if you so feel like. But yeah, so I don't know, man. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, well, I think we've beaten that dead horse. Bob, we do have some people from the audience already talking. M66 says, someone's probably asked us before, Mover, what is your opinion on the C6 and would you ever own one? I did own one. I had a C6 Grand Sport and a C6 ZR1, and I loved both cars. But I like my C7 better. I like the C6 Z06 too. If they didn't have the was it the push rod lifter issue or something like that? It's bends them. The 427's got issues.
Yeah,
but they're great cars. It's just now the interior looks a little outdated. It's a standard Corvette stuff. After a couple generations, you're like, oh wow, but amazing cars. Gonky, would you ever own a C6?
Yeah,
if your wife would let you?
Dude, when it comes to cars, she doesn't care. Yeah, I like the C6. My buddy in the Diamonds had one, and that thing was awesome, man. I mean, the coolest thing about I think the C5 and 6, maybe even the 7, but not only was it obviously a pretty fast car, but it would get like 32 miles per gallon on the highway.
Yeah, and the C6 was the last of the round taillights.
Yeah. But the thing, I didn't like the C6 didn't have the flip up headlights, which I kind of miss.
I don't like the flip up headlights.
Really?
I never liked the flip up headlights.
I autocrossed a C6 and it was faster than my race car.
Really?
I believe that.
Yeah, they're a cool car. They're
course dependent. It had a lot of horsepower. It was a grand sport.
Tom says there are two types of countries: those who use metric and those whose flag is on the moon. I will also point out every time I do the metric joke, in aviation, there are like 3 countries that use the metric system: China, Russia, and even not all together. It's some parts of China, some parts of Russia, and North Korea. Do you want to be in that group? Because everybody else is using feet and cannot.
Careful, mover. Someone's going to accuse you of bullying.
Well, just saying. That's who you want to be with.
Yeah.
In aviation, everybody ICAO standard.
Yeah.
Now we do kind of vary it up with kilopascals and all that stuff, or inches of mercury, all that. But that's different. We'll draw there, but nobody uses meters.
Yeah. No,
it's crazy.
No.
See, we go. Andrea says, "Talk metric to me. No bald eagle per football field." So would that be 1 horsepower?
Yeah.
Or whatever the metric thing for horsepower is.
Is it Newton meters?
No.
Yeah,
Newton meters is torque, isn't it?
Oh, I always get those confused anyway.
Foot-pounds, because when I'm using my torque wrench, it's like, oh, it's the Newton meter. This is the commie side. I turn it over.
Right, exactly. Like when you get a race car, you're like, how many Newton meters is it? No, you're like, how many bald eagles fly out of the hood?
Might be watts.
Yeah, yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Kate says, first, happy birthday, Gonky and Mover. I'm never mad at you. Y'all's rational stance is mature and to be applauded. People are stupid, can't read. Well, that's obvious. True story.
Thanks, Kate.
Yeah, thanks for that. Chad says, Chad McChaddington. That's totally a real name. Actual crash report will take time. Thanks, Chad. Andre, also back to the horses. The F-16 crashed because of a bird strike. It collided with a flock of Russian shovels.
Oh,
I've seen that in the comments. What are they? What is the shovel?
It?
What is a Russian shovel? What is that? What is this? Euphemism? Dude, you're going to end up on the wrong side of the web.
I might, dude. Let me see.
I don't think you should Google that in real time. If Gonky gets booted, it's because he's on some kind of...
No. It's like literal shovels is what's coming up, and I'm sure that's...
Yeah, is that what they're calling, like,
is that a type
missiles? Some of their...
What I was getting from the Googles is that the Russians are so poorly equipped, they're using shovels for weapons.
They had a flamethrower drone. I saw that. Like,
really?
It was like napalming the people. That was the Ukrainian drones.
Yeah, dude. Nothing's coming up, man.
No, that's not good.
Except real shovels, which I doubt they took down a Viper with.
The NSA has shut down Gonky's internet.
Yeah, Gonky's done. Gonky.
Yes, sir.
This first topic is for you.
Where's it at?
What does it even mean?
Yeah. Here, let me bring it up.
I think Doug has it. There you go.
Oh, Doug, you got it. Ending the dominance of naval aviation in the U.S. Navy. So as at least the whole time I was in, and I guess up until now, predominantly, and this article kind of talks more about the battle group which is aircraft carrier centric, being led by aviators, and how that shift is changing. And he brings in some examples of, past destroyer type commanders and their issue with that. I mean, the in the Navy, there's always conflict between the surface warfare guys, the sub nukes, and the aviators, obviously. And due to the significance of air power in World War II, naval aviators kind of, I guess, not forced their way. Naval aviators made their way into leadership positions, and they've kind of not relinquished that. And so he's just talking about the spreading of resources to other things that the Navy has. Unlike the Air Force, the Navy has a lot of air power. They've got ships they're building. They've got submarines they're building, all expensive stuff that needs, money, funding, all that leadership type stuff. So I read it. I mean, he has some compelling arguments, and obviously as a naval aviator type, I am biased. I just believe we're better, but I think
all hate mail.
Send it to I guess my opinion on this is until like I said, like the battle group is kind of like the Navy's hey, if there's a situation, right, send a battle group over there, and at the core of that is the aircraft carrier. And why is that? That's because it has an air wing that has long range power projection capability. And usually, like we kind of talked about earlier, Mover, as far as like any kind of layered defense or even offense, it's going to be the air wing's going to most likely be the first part of that. So I think until that changes, and obviously we've talked about it before, the landscape of warfare with drones and AI is causing a lot of changes. And I could see the argument where the carrier may not be the right tool for the Navy in the future, but as we sit right now, I think it still is. And I think aviators should be in leadership when it comes to battle groups and whatnot, because you're talking about primarily projecting air power via the sea. But that's my own opinion. What do you think, Mover?
I don't think Roger's got this one. I'm looking at this as not a boat guy, so I don't know anything about it. But I'm just reading the byline here. Not the byline, but the other crap. He's talking about they're more difficult to target, locate, and they need they don't need the carrier, blah, blah, blah. So what did we talk about last week? Was it last week? Dude, the days are all running. When we had ammo on, right?
Last week.
Was that last week? So
correct.
One of the things we talked about was Raptors show up, everybody suddenly good. You park a carrier battle group off somebody's coast, that is power projection. Yep. Like there's a difference between we need to be tactically sound, which the submarine argument works there, right? Because they're stealthy, you don't know they're there, they can still shoot stuff down, all that stuff, which I argue shooting stuff down might be a little bit more difficult from underwater, but okay, technology, whatever. But the whole point of a carrier battle group is to put a small air force in a place where it previously was not. So let's say this Yemen thing, the Houthi stuff, the Israeli stuff, part of the reason Israel and the Iranian stuff, part of the reason that, have you watched the news lately? And every week they're like, we are going to retaliate. And then they don't retaliate. We are going to retaliate. And then they don't retaliate. Why are they not retaliating? Because there's a carrier battle group or two out there that says, I wish a mother would. And then, we're like, they know that. And so they saber rattle. And then the next thing you know, weeks go by.
Uh-oh. Doug, are you there? Doug?
I'm still here.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Is it Mover?
I think it is this time. It wasn't last time. Last time it was all of us.
How can this be?
The other question is, how long will it take for him to notice?
He's probably going on a really good rant right now.
Nah, he just clicked back in.
Here. All All right, mover. Hey,
How many movers are there?
All right, mover. Tell me something that only mover would know.
Correct. Is this
What is happening here? What is this? Why is StreamYard doing these things to us today?
Dude. Hey, put us back.
I don't know how to do that.
At least it waited until it was just me and you.
There we go.
You know, it didn't do it last week.
You were like on a roll. You were peaking, and then you froze.
Well, you know, it's China.
Yeah, we're gonna need you to validate yourself. Tell us something only mover would know.
I need you to authenticate.
Hold on. I'm still getting the Lunacam back up because it booted like
what
everything. Happened? I don't know. Next thing I know, 1 minute I'm talking about carrier projection and next thing I know, there's just no more Chrome. It's gone. Like the whole thing just went.
You didn't have you didn't have like the Chinese flag flash up real quick and.
Well, they did a quick flashy thing, so now I don't remember anything. That was the NSA going, mover, stop telling them that we'll glass their entire parking lot or we'll turn them into a glass parking lot.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was a good point. That's all. You know, I mean, I thought that was going to be a valid point that I was trying to make, but I don't remember what it was now.
Yeah. Like I said, dude, you were peaking. I was waiting for it. Like, oh, he's going somewhere good with this. And then, I don't know. You're talking about...
well, anyway, so it's a small Air Force that is our power projection. And that is part of peace through strength. Because if you don't have that, you know, sneaking up on them does you no good when diplomacy is your first option. When you are trying to intimidate through a small Air Force in Gonky's world, parked off your coast in places. Now, granted, can the Air Force do that? In some degrees, yes. But when the Air Force does it, we then have to get agreements with the host nations, or we have to get tanker support. You know, there's a lot more than just going into international waters and parking such that, hey, keep doing what you're doing, and we'll find out how it's going to work for you.
Yep.
You know? So, carrier, I think I personally think that the author of that is misguided. And going to your point about the leadership aspect, number one, we have a leadership problem, so that's another thing altogether. But the carrier group is the microcosm of the military, right? It's a self-sustaining small military. In fact, it's as big as some countries' militaries, you know, just one group. So you need somebody who understands that force projection, the air power, all that stuff. If you put, you know, a SWO in charge of that, he or she is not gonna fully understand, having not come up through the ranks to see what the capability is, because you don't know what you don't know, and no amount of academics can teach that.
Yeah, and you know, I'll say this for example. So, like, I was part of CAG 9 back in the day, and the skipper of the boat, the XO, CAG, they were all aviators. But the admiral, who was their boss, was a SWO. So, I mean, it's not like, you know, it's aviator, you know, all the way to the top, right? I mean, there are, you know, surface warfare and subnuke admirals within leadership within the battle group. So, yeah, I mean,
what was Admiral Chegwooden?
Dude, I don't know. Who?
Just straight JAG? Chegwooden? Wouldn't it the Harmon Rab's boss?
Oh, dude, they're JAGs. They're in their own.
Yeah, but Harmon Rab was a fighter pilot with night blindness.
That's right, but he came over the JAG world. They're their own little. Yeah, they have their own little thing.
He was a SEAL.
Oh, that's right. He was a SEAL. You're right.
Yeah,
that's right. Sorry, no disrespect, sir.
Anyway, all right, moving on from that topic, because why not? Jason Song says, finally did my first heli ride. It's hella fun. See what you did there.
I like it.
You hover.
Here can be dangerous.
Yeah, so people ask, I took that out, that topic, because I'm going to do a whole video on it next week. I need a topic for my channel, so we're going to talk about it there. I'm trying to find the mishap report from the Army about that. We can talk about it real quick. Gonky, you know
Did
what
it
I'm
just
talking
happen?
about.
Yeah. Oh,
No,
yeah.
it happened. The AIB has already reported.
Okay.
So basically, bad Amy driver gets an incentive ride in an Apache, and they do multiple approaches and try to get this dude to hover. And after 4 attempts, he comes in. He can't get it. He comes in, and then the warrant officer still doesn't take it, and he takes it at the last minute as he's fumbling around, and resulting in a mishap.
Yeah.
I mean, from a incentive ride or a FAM ride perspective, let's flip the script. Let's get Gonky's opinion. You're in a Hornet, and you've got an Apache guy in your back seat. How many attempts at landing are you going to give him before you say, you know what, today ain't your day?
0.
Yes.
It rhymes with 0. Yes. I'll let him fly once we're airborne away from the ground, because I've given incentive flights before. I let them fly as much as they want when we're, out in the area, but not landing.
Well, and that's what I was going to talk about. When I flew with Harrison County the second time, when I interviewed Stephanie, that was my first attempt at hovering. And she was like with the controls, right? Because, that's a thing. So yeah, I could see, here's 6 to 9 seconds. Try it. If it works out, okay, we're going to let you keep doing it. But multiple attempts? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how that was a guard Apache, right?
Utah, yeah.
Utah, yeah. So I don't know exactly how they do training.
Oh, you think the F-35 guy was a Delta guy, and he's like, "Hey, I'll let you hover if."
No, but I like where you're going with this.
Yeah,
I like where you're going with this.
Conspiracy, the deep intel on this whole thing. We're gonna blow the lid wide open.
Yeah, we have some. Yeah, exactly. No, I my point is, so I'm sure the Apache. Any students that this warrant officer gets in the Apache, like that's an Army person, has gone through some sort of helicopter training in another helicopter before. So
well, he's gone to helicopter training in the Apache because it's not a RAG. It's not a B course.
That's what I'm saying. So for example, when I got students as a Hornet instructor, there was a certain level of proficiency I was used to. So my control hovering moments.
It's not a T6 on a dollar ride.
Yeah, exactly. So, this guy, F-35 dude with 0 helo time.
He had some sim time. They put him in the sim for 30 minutes the day prior.
Yeah, I guess what I'm getting at is even if you're an IP in the Apache, you're probably not used to instructing 0 time helicopter pilots. That's all I'm going to say, because it is different, right? The things you look out for are a lot different when you're teaching I used to be just a regular CF5. We're just teaching landings in just landings, period. It's a lot different type of instruction than if you're trying to teach somebody stuff in an F-18. But yeah.
And the Apache has a whole bunch of automated modes. It's got so many different modes of automation, hover capability for auto hover, stuff like that. And it's not the highest of visibilities. Depending on where, I'm sure the guy was sitting in the front seat. I can't imagine.
Have you flown like any of the military helicopter sims?
Yeah, I flew the Cobra at New Orleans.
Oh, okay.
Crashed the crap out of that thing.
Right. Right. So I flew the Seahawk, the 60.
Yeah.
And with all the automation on, I could fly, but I was over torquing. I don't even know what that means. I was over torquing stuff, right? I mean,
yeah.
So, and I obviously 0 time training. So that's kind of what I'm getting at is, those helicopters require a certain, I think, level of proficiency before you get into them. But what do I know?
I don't know. I mean, does that speak to a higher issue with, discipline and kind of what, cowboying?
Well, it's kind of like we talked about, even you, man, right? You give an incentive ride in the T-38. Did you ever let them fly out in the area?
Yeah, in the area.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
I didn't give him the Widowmaker final turn, but while Gonky's yelling in the back, see, we didn't die.
But that's what I'm saying, man. I mean, I don't understand why probably one of the more challenging phases of flight, you would do that. I don't know. It's I don't know. I'm not an Apache instructor, but in fixed wing airplanes, it's a bad idea because, dude, you just don't have time to recover. That's the problem. When you're close to the ground and you're behind the power curve, like, you just don't have time to recover. There needs to be a certain level of proficiency already established.
We needed Casmo for this segment. For the Apache.
Get him on for your have him on for your.
He's busy, man. That dude he's all over the world right now. But I will say also, I'm gonna throw this spear too. The stick and rudder skills of an F-35 pilot are not the same as like your tail wheel, crop duster like T-Bear right now. Right.
100%.
So you're not just taking somebody who's got that feel. You're taking somebody who might be experienced in a fighter that is fully automated. Like, and I'm not just throwing spears at Fat Amy, although we love to do that. If a Hornet, you've talked about this before, Gonky. When you go from a Hornet or a Viper or something with a lot of automation and go down to something that requires a lot of stick and well, in this case, collective and stick and torque pedals and all that stuff. But when that seat of the pants, even though it's an Apache, you still need a little bit more seat of the pants than you do flying a fully automated jet. And those basic skills are not there, or proficiency is not there unless he was, flying, Robinsons on his days off. I don't, see how that was.
Apparently not. I mean, I don't know. I don't know, man. Crappy though, because Apache's badass helicopter.
Well, you know what? They should have put him in a Jeep, put a panty on his head. I mean,
I am the greatest.
Did we skip all the beginning steps of Apache helicopter training? And then you have to yell, do you see that big honking Apache killing rock right off the front of our nose? And if he says no, or if he says, I see it, what do you want me to do with it? Then you can probably trust him in the pattern.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
Look, I just
so many excellent documentaries ignored by people when it matters.
It's a classic, man.
How many times? Like, simple question: how many times did he watch Airwolf? How many times did he watch Firebirds? Yeah. Is he a Magnum PI fan?
He's lieutenant colonel. He was a lieutenant colonel, right? So he's our age.
Oh God, are we that old?
Yeah, dude. We're like 06 age material.
Yeah, but we're nowhere near.
No, dude. No, my age doesn't correspond with how far my military career went.
I told you I'm retired. Bob says, seeing Gonky nearly solo for a moment reminded me of Garth in Wayne's World.
That's a great movie.
Yes, I'm dating myself, he says. Dude, you share a birth month with Keanu Reeves, who just turned
great. 60?
60. If he can still make John Wick movies, you can reenact the Chips intro.
Maybe. We'll see how my knee goes, dude. As long as we don't drop the bike, I'll be good.
I saw somebody had tried that with some local PD, but it was a Victory bike.
No, I get it.
So he's like leaning back, trying to do it in the cop bike. And he's like this real skinny dude. So it like doesn't look right. And there's only one bike. You can't redo the Chips intro with one bike.
No, you need formation.
It's insulting. Yeah. It just makes me sad. I sent it to our instructor, and he's like, I'd make fun of him. Renee says it's the Russian shovels.
I still, the Google doesn't bring up anything other than real shovels. Probably an inside joke, dude.
We're not smart enough for that. Bob says peace through strength, unless we want Air Force bases everywhere like in the 50s, or just let the inmates run the asylum. I think we're on that phase of life right now, is just letting the inmates run the asylum.
Yeah.
And Joe's
Airwolf,
trying to help me out here. I think your point is presence, visible presence. Subs don't do that. And happy birthday, Gronky. Let's go riding. Can't. He's broken.
I've been riding a little bit. I can ride. I just got to be careful.
Yeah. All right. Hey, this one's also yours. What does this mean?
Well, hold on here. Let me share it. Dude, two, here we go. Share screen. Right here. And
hopefully I don't get
whoops. Up.
Good luck, Gonky. We're all counting on you.
All right. Can you guys see this?
Yeah.
All right. Obviously. August 28th. So this is relatively new. So desktop trainers, stop doing that. Desktop trainers for naval aviators on the carrier. So my old air wing, CAG 9, Carrier Wing 9, they're now on the Lincoln. We were on the Stennis, which is in a major overhaul. Anyways, dude, they're putting sims on the carrier so you can practice tactics on the carrier. So F-35, Super Hornet, Growler, and the Hawkeye.
Is that supposed to be a F-35 side stick? I was trying to figure that out because it looks like a Viper stick, but I guess that's because it's a little off. Is that what the F-35 looks like?
I don't know, dude. I looked at this as, I mean, this doesn't look like it's on a ship to me. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know what kind of stuff. I know they're not F-18 sticks and not Hawkeye yokes. But,
is that your expert analysis?
That's my expert analysis. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not...
Well done, Gonky. That's why people show up to watch, to see what we're going to talk about next.
Well, dude, so look, they put the sims on the ship so you can practice.
Was it Wombat a wall banger?
Yeah, dude. So Wombat was a wall banger, which is too bad he couldn't make it tonight.
What does wall banger mean?
That's just the name of their squadron.
Someone who wall bangs?
I don't know.
What you done with that?
Yeah, I'm just gonna talk. There it is. Dude, it looks like it.
All right, so that's what the Fat Amy grip looks like.
There you go. Yeah, so
okay, sorry, you're gonna talk about stuff. Seriously.
Yeah, so we didn't have sims on the ship when I was in. And in my mind, simulator events on the carrier. Mover, when you were deployed, did you guys have sims?
No.
Okay.
There was no sim. Like nothing. We watched movies or we flew.
Correct. That's what we do on the carrier. We watch roll-ums.
Gym, movies.
Yes.
Cow.
Yes.
Omelet.
Work. It's like and I don't know, in a single seat squadron, each pilot, junior officer for sure has 3 to 5 jobs. And I never had any time. Now, that being said, I'm sure they'll carve out another hour or they'll put it in the syllabus for an upgrade or something for sim time. But I just wonder how effective it would be. I will say this, though. When we're on the boat doing carrier ops and we're, no kidding, deployed, when I was going through my upgrades, especially the air-to-air stuff, it was always a little frustrating because the entire event is part of the launch and recovery cycle. So it's a 1+15 cycle or 1+30, and that's all dependent on how much gas is available and whatnot. So, and we all had our fuel ladders. So I did a lot of air-to-air events in the Hornet for my upgrade at max E. So
max endurance for the kids.
Yes, max endurance, which was about 250 knots, which is like roughly half the speed that you would normally do this. And since we were all on ladder, basically, even a lot of the red air, if they were Super Hornets, maybe they could give me one run or one set where they could be tactical speeds. But then after that, pretty much you're doing this. Everyone's doing 250 knots, these intercepts, and they don't really happen as mover can attest.
The timeline is messed up.
Right. The timeline is messed up because, when you do these at real tactical speeds, you get kind of a cadence going. And that's how we train on shore, because have much more control of our fuel and when we land, whereas we don't have that much control out at sea. So that being said, I could see how having these sims on the ship would allow for, okay, guys, go out. There's no replacement for doing it in the real airplane. I mean, even at 250 knots, there's still all the, startup, go hit the tanker, all the logistical stuff, all the comm that needs to happen. But it would have been kind of nice to be able to go tactical speeds, at least to get the comm cadence down again, the radar mech down again, things like that. So I don't think it's completely useless. I think it has its place. I just kind of wonder, I'm more curious than anything else, how much of it they're going to put on the air crew as far as like their training and basic quals. And I guess it depends on the fidelity too of the sim. So I don't know. What do you think, Mover?
I think this is a precursor to Top Gun, the next one, because instead of giving the brief, he's going to have them do the sim to practice before they go in. This was the part of the movie you didn't see because they had to practice it on the ship before they went into bad guy land. So
I think they'll determine who team leader is based on the outcome of that.
That is the team leader will be determined by who has the highest score, which is inversely proportional to who has the most quarters. So, but
dude.
I mean, I can see the validity when we in the F-16 world. One of the things we used to do was we'd go up to like Vermont or Mesa and do the link sims because you could get so many reps. You're talking about cadence and stuff like that. Even at ludicrous speed, which is what we flew because we're better at pilots than the Navy. So we never trained half-assed like that. So even doing this at full speed, you don't get a lot of reps, right? You do 20-minute vol. That's it. You're bingoed out. You're done. You defended the target and stuff. When you do a sim, you can set it up, change the aggressiveness of the red air, and give them everything you got, or building block approach, and you and your 3 other buddies can fights on, knock it off, fights on, knock it off, and it's instant reset. Okay, new jet, new day, instant reset. And the kills are permanent kill removals for that vol. So there's a lot of good training that happens because that, I agree with you, there's nothing replaces being in the airplane. But the switchology, now you've flown the ESA, I haven't. So for me, there's a lot of just muscle memory and just working the radar and all that stuff. When, you've got godlike situational awareness, now it's just a matter of, I guess, deciding who dies first or whatever. But yeah, right. You're just queuing people at this point. But still, like Ammo talked about last week, the interpretation and the here's what's junk, here's what's not, and prioritizing what your information you're being given. It's hard to do if you're only getting 1 rep at a time. If you're getting multiple reps in the sim, that's really good training for the switchology. So systems trainer, it's awesome. And even still, like if let's say you actually did have a Top Gun Maverick style mission, having that ability to go kind of chair flight a little bit and, point to point, okay, I'm going to drop this weapon here. Okay, I need to, go this way, go that way and stuff. Just that little extra edge so that when you get in the jet, it's not brand new. I can see that. I wouldn't see them doing upgrade rides, but I can definitely see as a proficiency trainer, especially. And my question to you, Gonky, is the Navy flying Fat Amy like the Air Force is flying Fat Amy and 5th Gen, where these dudes are only getting 100 hours a year? Because that could be the other piece to this too.
Yeah, no, I don't know. You've got a good point. It could be a part of their plan, replace flight hours with simulator hours, which, I mean, it's like, airplanes actually don't fly anymore off the carrier. We're just simulating within the ship. If we need to fly, we can, right?
Well, I mean, so that's the unfortunate when we talked to Ammo and we said, how many hours do you have?
I was surprised.
Right. But that's the reality of 5th Gen versus those of us that flew, 250 hours a year.
That's why I was thinking about this today, man. That's why the old timers in our time were so good is because
Oh, yeah.
those guys flew even more than we did.
Right.
You know, and that's why they were just like when at the end of whatever mission you were doing, you do a quick BFM set and they would just crush you.
Well, I always go back to it's law of primacy because I see this myself, right? Like right now, flying the big jet, flying helicopter, all the different things I fly, you revert to your baseline. So if your baseline was good in that piece of equipment, when you haven't done it for a while, as soon as you do it, you're like, oh yeah, oh right, you know, because I got that good foundation. But if you don't get the foundation and you don't like instill it with a lot of repetitions, it will always be a flail. You will always have that same problem. And so like BFM, you know, the dudes that flew a lot early in their careers are good forever.
Yeah.
Because they see it. They, you know, it's like when you and I fly DCS in
their baseline's high.
We know where to look. Like, I don't even need to look at you, dude. I know I cut across the circle. I know you're going to be somewhere over here. I can pick you up versus somebody who hasn't done it a while. You know, if you've ever gone fly against a brand new lieutenant, which you have, you know, they'll go blind, you know, around. Yeah. It's just like,
my first time learning BFM in the Navy, I was like, dude, turning, I'm half puking. I'm like, what is going on here?
That's how I was at IFF, because IFF, high aspect basic fighter maneuvers, was demo. It was not a proficiency item. And I remember the IPs like, dude, I'm going to talk you through it. Just do not over G. If you hear the beeper, let off, you know, because it's got the single rate, double rate beepers for the T-38C. And that's all I cared about. Like, I'm looking across the circle. It's 2 miles away, you know, and the T-38's like this big. I don't know what's happening. I don't know where he is. I don't know nothing. He's just saying, pull, ease. And I'm like, I'm just, it's just voice commands. You know, he basically could be talking to Siri right now or telling me what to do with the airplane because I have no idea. Now, I go fly the F-16, you know, fly 20 something BFM sorties in a month. And it's like, oh yeah, he's going to be right there every time, you know, just that's, you cannot replace that.
No. But I think like we were talking about, I think it has its place. Like, you know, switchology, comm cadence, and
that's a good point too.
Pushing the right radio.
Well, the comm cadence, something I didn't really even think about, but that's, dude, knowing what to say and when to say it is almost the hardest part because you have to be able to effectively communicate, and it's easier to learn it at 1G so that when you revert to, you know, your basic baseline in the airplane, okay, I've said this so many times, it's just automatic. I don't even remember saying it. Like, I blacked out for a minute because I was just doing what I'd been trained to do. So I do think that has its purpose, but that'll be interesting to see if they'll have to, I guess there's no trouble finding a very cold place to run the servers.
Dude, that's true.
It cannot be the Top Gun carrier where everybody's sweating.
It's like I look at that thing, I'm like, you know, that they probably set that up in some poor JO's 6-man stateroom. It's like
they probably borrowed somebody's, like the JO's like, hey, I already got one of these in my next to the Xbox.
It's like a giant linked DCS scenario. Dude, I mean, when I was, and obviously we didn't have DCS, but like you would go in the 6-man as the jungle, dude, and they had like, it's like Call of Duty, right? I mean, like everybody was in there playing like a massive Call of Duty game. So I don't know. Sims at Sea. I don't know. I prefer real flight time, but
I don't know. All right, you ready to move on from whatever that was? We got 2 things. Justin says, what are the funniest, best unit names y'all have heard of? The chat can chip in too. My brigade is known as the Devils in Baggy Pants.
What do you think, Weaver? Do you have any
unit name?
I
don't know, man. Unit name. I mean, you got something?
So the Wall Bangers, their ATC call sign was Banger.
Are we talking ATC call sign? Or are we talking?
I mean,
I don't.
That's their call sign, right? I mean, whether they're talking on the radio, but
I can't say the Louisiana Air Guard one, can I? Before they became the Bayou Militia, when they PC'd them to.
Oh, the coon.
For sure, don't say that. Holy crap!
Hey, I didn't say it.
Jesus. Oh, you said something way worse.
No,
Gonky.
No, I didn't.
Oh, no.
Probably Banger is the only one that I can think of, because when they would check into
that,
there was I heard him over the radio check I'm digging now, but the range control out of the water was Beaver control, and they would always check in Beaver Banger Beaver. I don't know. I used to make me chuckle.
There was what do they call the RTO hot box? That was one of the RTOs.
Was it?
Yeah, the Lang used it. So
I never heard it.
Yeah, hot box was one of them. But I don't know. Gonky, let's go from puking dogs. That's just normal. It's normal Navy stuff. Let's just move on to anything but Gonky getting us canceled again. Oh, okay, that quarter joke was funny. Mover's going to have to explain it for the young people in the room. Well, my intent was to cross-reference the Firebirds, where he says he has a pocket full of quarters. But any video game, do they still do that? Like the arcade games, you have to have quarters.
Inflation, dude. I think it's
tokens. It's like dollars now.
Dollar bills now.
Yeah. See, I don't know. We're so fired, Gonky. Thanks for that. This is a short run.
What?
Talk about this, Gonky. Talk about your next topic.
Raytheon fine for leaking info. Hold on, dude. You can't. Hold on, Doug. Do you have it up?
Doug's got it. Doug's got it. But it's not. Hold on, we got it.
It's not coming up, dude.
Yeah, my sharing is sort of broken. If Mover clicks on it, there it is.
It is. Raytheon fined $200 million for exporting defense tech to China, Russia, and Iran. So basically, so they mistakenly leaked some info about the F-22 and F-35. I think even the E-2 through laptops, and they got fined. So
that's like the whole story.
Pretty much
just said it in one line. Good for you.
Pretty much. But like the thing that when I read through this article, I was like, man, I think 200 million is like, I don't want to say chump change for a company like Raytheon when
they'll make it up in a week.
Right. Like when you're caught, I don't want to say they didn't do it on purpose, but for example, Mover and I, if we leak anything secret, we go to jail. Nobody ever hears from us again. You know, we're erased from history kind of thing. But Raytheon, $1 billion company, $200 million fine. I mean, I know this is probably not the first time that information has been leaked accidentally or not accidentally, but it's unfortunate. The saying in the Navy was loose lips sink ships, whether it's, on purpose or by accident. So I'm sure everybody at Raytheon is doing another computer-based training exercise on the importance of not letting sensitive information get into people's hands that should
750.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing. 750 violations, man. It's not like, oh, we caught him once. Now,
that is over a 6-year period. I mean,
yeah, and I mean, what quantifies a violation? I don't know.
Right.
So there's obviously this is a very surface level article.
Well, and also, so it says failure to establish proper jurisdiction classification, unauthorized export of defense art. So ITAR, the International Traffic and Arms Regulations, that could just be a simple like operator's manual, right? It doesn't even have to be classified. It could just be something like a -1. You go post that on the internet or you give that to somebody that shouldn't have it. That is a violation. So it's not necessarily they're given all the missile tech, right? Because that's Raytheon's kind of thing. It could just be benign surface level stuff, like you said, that also happens to be an ITAR violation.
Right.
what they audited it, right? This is from oh wow, you were doing this, because 7 years. It's not like they woke up one day and they were like, oh, look at this big leak.
Yeah, it had an example in there, about like one of the leaks. It was, I don't know, something to do with the F-22 cockpit dash thing. What it didn't sound. I don't know. Like I said, 750 violations that could have ranged from things that didn't really matter much to things that maybe do matter. I mean, we'll never know. But I thought the $200 million fine was a little weak. But
what would Gonky's perfect world be? How much would you fine him?
That's a good question, dude. I don't know, but for a multi-billion-dollar company, I mean, I don't know. Doug, what do you think? What number would you hit him with?
I think some other kind of sanction, no new contracts for 4 or 5 years or something like that.
Yeah. But who's going to build our missiles?
That's the problem.
That's why, right? It's like, okay, go easy on this fine,
Yeah, when you only have one contractor for each thing, it's very difficult to, say, hey, don't do this or else.
Yeah.
Also, when the lobbyists are, spending money in Capitol Hill, it's very difficult to say we're going to turn off that spigot.
Yeah, exactly. Good luck flying your planes, dude, with missing Raytheon parts.
Yeah. Your F-22 with 0 missiles. Gun only.
It's not a bad place to be.
It is in this war.
Valid.
Speaking of bad places to be, I don't think that's a very good segue. Russia blames the F-16 crash in the USA. So we were talking about the unfortunate loss of Moonfish and the kind of another article that surfaced today. Can you read that, Gonky?
Nope.
Okay.
Can you not read it?
I can read it.
I mean, I do actually.
Do I have to zoom in for your old man vision?
Yeah, I usually Control Plus a bunch of times on them.
Is that how you do that? Wow.
Okay. So anyway, the Russian ambassador, which is obviously, someone that we trust, sarcasm for the people at home. Holy crap. People never get sarcasm when I'm sarcastic. He made some comments about the death of the Ukrainian pilot as if that, the trash talking in the war wasn't enough. He basically said that U.S. instructors have failed to train Ukrainian pilots on F-16 fighter jets, as quoted in the report by TASS, a state-run Russian news agency. Local instructors have failed to train the Ukrainians. I can imagine how they would shout if reports came that the hapless plane was brought down by our soldiers. A spokesperson for the Ukraine Defense Ministry told Newsweek, as for Russians, they always lie. The information world continues. Yes, of course. He fired he dismissed the head of the Air Force, but a Ukrainian lawmaker, and this is what I was talking about earlier, said it was mistakenly downed by a U.S. provided Patriot missile battery, accused Air Force High Command of a culture of lies. But they dismissed those claims and said that's nonsense. So an investigation is ongoing, obviously, and we're collaborating with the United States on that. So we'll see if they send in somebody else. They only have 6. Now they have 5. And he was trained in Denmark. So training had been condensed and flying the aircraft was more technically challenging, is what he had said previously in an article. And that's it. So Gonky, I kind of wanted to over to you on this. You ever trained? Did you guys do any foreign training at the RAG, or is it?
Yeah, I mean,
like
Australians.
No, because like Tucson, some of these pilots were trained at Tucson. There's a whole international B course specifically for training countries where we sell them aircraft and we need to train them. You ever do anything like that, or just was exchange stuff?
Other than exchange stuff, no. I mean, the Aussies bought the Hornet, right? The Super Hornet. They came over and trained with us, but they're just like us.
But you did it in Malaysia,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I guess my point is there's a syllabus, and I think it's kind of a I get why he's doing it, because when you're at war, you're going to say nonsense like this, and everybody's going to say stupid things like this because, well, look at this. This is the U.S. meddling, and they didn't even do it right, and we're going to talk trash. And I'm sure the commenters are about to tell me about it all too when this becomes a clip. But it's nonsense, because even the best training in the world, the Swiss cheese lines up, and something like this happens.
Yeah, 100%. And the other thing that people probably don't realize is not only are they getting, we'll just call it a Ukrainian spec Viper, but just like in Malaysia, the syllabus is for them as well.
Yeah.
So like in the Hornet, the Malaysian syllabus was relatively similar to ours in the US. So I don't know what the exact syllabus that the Ukrainians are using right now, but when you look at, I don't know, it's we're looking at it from a Western point of view. I don't really, as far as F-16 pilots and capabilities and whatnot, and how much actual training, it's hard for me to realize or to accept the fact that like he had sufficient training to be doing actual combat ops like he is. I get it. They're in war. They need to do what they're going to do. But dude, if you're going to take guys and put them through a pretty aggressive course in a high performance airplane like a Viper and then send them right out to war out the gate, I mean, there's no time for those guys to gain any experience, right? I mean, your experience is gained in the training, right? In the red flags, the LFEs, all that stuff. That's where you make all your mistakes. It's like you would have died here. Right. So when you actually do go to combat, you don't make those mistakes. These guys are experienced pilots, but not in this weapon system, right?
How long was their training? 6 months?
Dude, it's not much. Yeah, it's not.
Well, I mean, that's what I got. I
yeah,
went to a B course, and my first non-graded ride was, OIF.
Yeah, but it wasn't against the Russians.
Well, that's true, but
that's what I'm saying.
But he's not a student, right? So if I went through a TX course in Fat Amy, it'd be 4 months. And they could very easily, if World War III kicks off tomorrow against China, I could easily get through MQT and be in combat.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. There's been plenty of incidents where like guys who've transitioned to like the Hornet from other platforms.
I did that too.
Right. The transition goes smoothly, but then, something will happen. Like the Top Gun guy that transitioned from all he'd flown was Super Hornets. Well, he transitioned to Legacy Hornet and, went through the little syllabus that we had. And he was a Top Gun guy, went out and during a fight, didn't realize how quick the thing would roll because it does roll a lot faster than the Super Hornet. You put on a bunch of G's that you locked himself, and he ended up punching out. So that's instances like that. You can be experienced, but like when it comes to, and you talked a little bit about it earlier about kind of like
law of primacy.
The fog of war. You go back to law of primacy, right? So there was a guy in my rad class who flew S3s. Was he in my rad class? A couple classes behind me or in front of me. I don't know. Anyways, he went out the boat. They did a port call. He's halfway through his fleet tour in the Hornet. They do a port call in Australia. They're just doing regular night quals, and he does an S3 power correction, and the Hornet hits the back of the ship. And it's just, when you're not focused, the law of primacy kicks in, and you kind of do what you were originally taught to do, and it might get you. So.
But not just that, Gonky. We don't even know what happened.
Correct.
Well, we don't know. I mean, we talked about it earlier in the show about the different theories about whether it was a Patriot, which
you're dead.
What training would have done that, right? I mean, okay, my IFF, like I didn't set up my IFF correctly. I mean, maintenance didn't set up the IFF correctly because that could be the other piece to that too. Was I not in the right deconfliction area because I wasn't interpreting, my display and my map, because maybe there's because there are engagement zones that you want to stay out of, and and that's part of it.
But I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about. There's a lot of new things that these guys are dealing with.
Oh, but if it's CFIT, right? Was it day or night? Nighttime threat reacting on goggles or off goggles, very, very hard to do in an F-16.
Well, what did he fly before the F-16?
MiG-29s.
Well, dude, the MiGs, our ADI is opposite to theirs.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's so I can see that too. One of the reports said that he shot down 2 or 3 cruise missiles and a drone or whatever. Dude, those jets are that's hard to do by itself. Just to go out there and target those small things that are either moving fast or moving slow, low altitude, all that stuff, that's hard to do.
Yeah.
And so to your point, you would want experience, but to the rest of the world's point, they don't have time, right? They need jets, they need people. This is what they were working with. And this is, you have to rise to the occasion.
Yeah. I mean, I guess my whole point is, sadly, given the timeline these guys are faced with, I would expect higher than normal
attrition.
Maybe not. Yeah. I just having flown, these kind of airplanes, they're doing what they can with what they have. I get it 100%. I mean, I couldn't do any better, to be honest.
I'm surprised they're doing this much this soon.
That's what I'm saying. They're really pushing it up, and I would just expect, with really leaning this far forward, I mean, they're accepting a lot of risk, and unfortunately the result of that.
It goes back to the original point, right, that we made a year or two ago. The jet is not a magic weapon.
No.
Like, it is not a game changer. It is not, it boosts morale, yes, until something like this happens, unfortunately. It gives you capability, yes. But think about the Ukrainian Air Force. What has their equipment traditionally been? Russian.
Yeah.
Our stuff is not immediately compatible. You saw that in Malaysia, MiG-29 versus Hornet. Different tactics, different doctrine, different integration. I mean, you take a SAM operator that's been using an S300 or S400, which I can't believe I'm using those terms now because the internet has ruined me. Double-digit SAM.
Yeah.
It's a SAM operator. Yeah, right. I used the Wikipedia one for it. What are you talking about? But a SAM operator that's used to Russian equipment moves to a Patriot. Now is integrating with MiGs, and then a Viper shows up. And it's not just, hey, it just works. There is a reason we do red flags. There is a reason we do these large force exercises. This is a reason we go to Fallon. There's a reason we train as much as we do, because it is not an overnight, it's just like when you take a country and go, bam, you're a democracy. No, you're not. You're not just overnight a democracy. A lot of stuff, mindsets have to change. I mean, when I went from the Air Force to the Navy, it was like a whole different world, and that's within the same country.
Right. Well, dude, and the airplane is just one piece. Like, the airplane itself is not going to win the war, right? So, like, it takes a coordinated effort. Like you said, it's part of a layered offense or defense. I mean, every piece of equipment plays the part, and there's just a whole lot of like new and different stuff going on. And I like I said, this aggressive use of Western equipment to a country that hasn't been using that equipment very long. Unfortunately, I would expect things like this to happen, which
but you have to understand where they're coming from, which is if we don't, I saw the thing where if Russia quits fighting, the war's over. If Ukraine stops fighting, Ukraine is now Russia. So the stakes are different for which side you're talking about. So from their perspective, we want to throw everything we can at the problem. And I do see the sense that, hey, if we get F-16 suddenly will, it's going to change the war, because that's what you want to believe. I would want to believe that. If I were fighting for my existence or fighting, for my country, and another country were like, hey, we got these jets. They're kind of old, but they're better than what you had, and they might change the tide. I'd be, hell yeah, let's get them in the front lines as soon as we can, and kind of buy in the press, because how long did they talk this up before they even got the 6 jets?
Yeah, a while.
We've been talking about this for 2 years. And so at some point, you believe your own press, and you go, well, we needed this. Now we're going to throw them in, and they're going to change everything. And if that night they had gotten a success rate and didn't lose a jet, we'd be having a different conversation, because they'd have been saying, see, send us more. We need these. It's changing the tide. We're kicking their asses. And that's the unfortunate part of war, is that in the 21st century, we are not used to losses. We are not used to losing airplanes and stuff like that from the Western side. So as soon as we hear it, we're like, oh God, but to your point, that's, I mean, when you push it up, that's what happens.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, thoughts and prayers to his family. I mean, like I said before, dude, there's people on both sides that are dying, in my opinion, for no reason, but
Yep. All right. Well, thank you for that, Gonky. Actually, thank me for that, because that was
thank you, Mover.
Thank me for my service.
I'm glad you didn't disappear on me and Doug.
I don't know, dude. I'm kind of nervous. AMT says aircraft name Fred, Buff, Jolly, Green, King. Nah, he was talking about unit names.
Yeah.
I mean, aircraft name. I mean, the Battle Penguin.
That's a good one.
Amy.
Even better.
Yeah. Anybody who calls it the Fighting Falcon? Nerd. Max R says they also had to learn English in that time frame.
There you go.
Did he not already know English? Because wasn't he being interviewed, or was that just juice?
I don't remember, dude.
Yeah, that sucks. Compared to the U.S., how would you rate the Aussie pilot's skill, training, proficiency? Asks Augmented Realities with $5 Is that enough for a bloomin' onion?
At Outback?
Yeah,
it's almost the same, right?
If you're Australian, I need you to provide currency in bloomin' onions.
And ranch dressing. Mover loves ranch.
All the ranch from
all the ranch, dude. The Aussies were just like flying with another American. I thoroughly enjoyed flying with them. They're great. They like to have a good time. The thing that struck me most about the Aussies is when there was an Aussie IP, they were just, man, brutal to each other.
Like Tim, kind of brutal.
No, dude, if I was the flight lead and we went out and did air hop, which I did many of them, come back, we debrief, I treat them, because most of them came from the F-111. All of them came from the F-111. So I treated them, as another fellow military fast jet flyer, not a new student coming up. And so, my debriefs were a little more gentlemanly, not ultra long, but, just enough to get the Super Hornet learning points across. But man, when the Aussie IPs were the flight lead, oh dude, it was like an Eagle debrief.
That's like the Air Force.
It's like, I got to take a pee break, dude. It's like, so they were fantastic.
Can I go now?
Can I? Yeah.
For this?
I'm just, yes, my rag tour is supposed to be shore duty.
Yeah.
No, they were good. They were, I'd flying combat with any of them. They were fantastic. Great group of guys. Very, very tight knit.
Also, Margot Robbie's pregnant now. Just in case anybody's wondering about the Austin. Find another Australian.
Oh, dude.
Let's see. Tom says, I would assume a complete FS and WS logic going from Russian. FS and WS logic going from Russia to U.S. platform versus 2 U.S. aircraft types. FS and Doug, what does that mean?
Western?
I'm guessing flight system and weapon system.
Oh, look at that.
I didn't look it up and I've forgotten.
I think you're right.
Department of Acronym Department.
Yeah. Doug, I think you're onto something.
Could it be?
But did it help?
I still don't understand the question. It's not a question. No question mark. It's a statement.
Yeah.
I think we might be missing a word, like maybe a complete flight systems and weapon systems logic swap going from Russian to U.S. platform versus to U.S. aircraft. Does that help?
That makes more sense.
You read enough papers, you get used to putting extra words in.
Mover and I can't read.
Doug,
we can't read
books.
Yeah. Damn, Doug. That's harsh, man. Harsh.
Oh, Tom says, yeah, Doug, you're on it. That's exactly right.
Well, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Okay. Skid says we lost a drone pilot when he swapped the F4 for the F-16 here at Tyndall. Yeah, I believe that. And Kangi, that's probably enough for a bloomin' onion. Good day, guys. Turns out the rotated heart wasn't the problem. My exam was written incorrectly. I should pass the medical and get a pilot offer. Thank you both for the many shows. Tomcats, hold on now.
That's awesome.
Rotated heart?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
I was trying to struggle with that one too. Does that mean the heart wasn't rotated, or it is, but it doesn't matter?
Is this another word we're missing, Doug, or is that a real?
Yeah, this is a reference to a previous show. Kangi had gotten a medical.
Well, all right, listen. We're not doctors here, Gonky. The important thing is he got his medical and he's a pilot offer, and some reason he blames us. So congratulations, you're welcome.
Congrats, man. That's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah, we're happy for you. Sorry, we're not smart. We don't know a lot of things. Hey,
Doug is here.
I got a waiver for the heart. Oh, there you go.
Nice. Okay, awesome.
Total eclipse of the heart.
All right, I feel compelled to add this to the stream in an effort to get Gonky out of the doghouse.
Yeah,
it's the rest of his sentence.
Yeah, it's.
Does that help, or does that make things worse?
The rest of the word? I was avoiding it because I'm not sure I think that's a slur in Louisiana.
I don't like people I hang around with.
No, I've heard
for sure the way Gonky said it was a slur. Oh my god, dude!
No, I've been waiting 30 years for somebody to call me that.
Yeah, I mean it's proudly displayed on all their jets, dude. I don't know, whatever. Listen, you can't say Charles Yeager. You know,
hey,
the world we live in.
All right, so let's get serious for a minute.
Do it.
This is like the can we get serious for a minute when Sully says this? All right. I'm gonna put this up first, but then I'm also gonna put this up. So what we're about to talk about is strictly our opinion,
100%,
and strictly doesn't represent anybody. I just got an email like a couple of weeks ago, not too long ago, that responded to our coverage of the B-1 mishap at Ellsworth and said, you guys aren't really getting the full picture. And Gonky got kind of a counterpoint. So to be fair and balanced, we wanted to shed light on the bro level response to this. And then Gonky, if you wanted to talk about the other thing too, you can do that as well. Does that make sense?
Not really, but I'll figure it out. Start talking.
No, you had a whole thing, dude.
About the B-1?
Yeah, you about the culture. Anyway, so I'm just going to read this from a bro in the B-1 community. This is anonymous. So here we go. As a bro in the B-1 community, I can wholeheartedly say the AIB report, the Accident Investigation Board report, was absolute libel and a vindictive attempt against a really solid B-1 squadron and the entire B-1 community of aircrew who do incredible work. Less than a month after the mishap, the 34th flew the longest B-1 combat mission, 34 hours from CONUS to CONUS, to strike targets across the pond. They shacked the targets, perfect timing. Read the article below that shows you how bogus. I'm going to get to that here in a second. That the AIB is. You and the guys hinted at it, but there is something seriously wrong with the AIB report. Zero actual proof of culture or discipline issues, only false correlations attempting to mislead the public. Sorry. Zero accountability for higher headquarters on low squadron manning and low experience levels, afflicting the entire community, and a lot of malicious intent against Ellsworth leadership. Also, fun note, the head of the report was the B-1 squadron commander in 2017 to 2019 and hated by everyone in his squadron. He was the epitome of a toxic leader. I have a ton of guys who can corroborate. First day as a commander, he reamed everyone in his first commander's call. Great start to the reign of terror. He also forced everyone to fly the B-1 with bad ejection seats. Read the AIB report from 2018. That's the one I think they got an air medal or something from, because one of the seats didn't fire and they said, we're just going to land it. Imagine that happening in the fighter community. Never would have happened. Actually did happen in the fighter community because we lost one at Shaw for a bad ejection seat. Please read the article and make a new video on behalf of all the B-1 bros who can't go against 4-star signed ARB report. Oh boy. Well, everybody thinks I'm retired anyway.
This will be our last hoorah this weekend.
Yeah. Between the Gonky's racism and this, we are not going to make it to 69. So I want to stop here before we get to that, because there's the bone of contention here in a second. But do you remember? Because we know about toxic leaders and the first commander's call, because we had the worst commander in the history of commanders show up on. He's like, we're going to have a pilot meeting on a drill weekend Friday at sign out. Was it what, 4 o'clock?
Yeah.
Let's start the meeting at 4:30 and go till 6 o'clock on a Friday. And in it, his rallying the troops was telling us that we're all a bunch of entitled reservists and, we're not worthy to be there, and that he was going to fix everything. You don't make friends and influence people like this. So it seems that the toxicity within, they must teach this at some school or something, because I've seen this playbook before. So I believe that 100%. But Gonky, you had a counterpoint to that. Another friend of yours had said some nicer things. So I'll let you get to that here in a second. But first, I wanted to go through the bone of contention that they were talking about, which is this. Such reports, and so you talk about, so this is from Tony Carr. This was on August 14th. And it says there's an AIB, but it's incomplete by design. It does no harm because causes still get addressed. Accountability is exercised. The public still understands the essence of what happened, and therefore we're closer to forming judgments. But sometimes it harms these objectives. Causes are obscured. Accountability is selective. When this happens, it's because of the unique design of the safety process. We need to see it, contend with it, or one day we'll wake up broken air defense. So in January, the 2 B-1s took off. One landed safely. We did the whole thing, and they talked about the event. But the Air Force, oh God, we're talking about SIBs. We've talked about this, AIB versus SIB. The AIB is what's public. The SIB is just safety privilege information. But they said unofficially it creates a temptation for abuse with shifting interpretations of what does and doesn't go on behind the veil employed to shape a narrative of what actually happened. This is a dangerous loophole for bureaucracies, which can be relied upon to protect themselves at the expense of principle. We have seen that also, have we not, Gonky?
Yes, sir.
Key conclusions. B-1 reports the accident was caused by crew error. Yep. We've talked about why. But I find that the leadership and climate issues. Key omissions, though. There are 3 facts not mentioned in the report, which should be. Staffing levels. Every Air Force unit is authorized a particular number of airmen in particular specialty codes. Units are then assigned airmen to meet that. The report says the 28 OSS commanders' decision on which roles to staff and which leave vague will result in the lack of adequate supervision. But there are 3 problems with this. In conceding that the commander needed to decide which roles to leave vacant, he actually stipulates the squadron did not have enough personnel. He treats the staffing decisions as incorrect, misleading the report's audience into believing there are right and wrong answers in an understaffed scenario. And then 3, never clearly deals with staffing levels of either organization. He gives us the assigned head count, but not its authorized staffing. Gives us authorized of the other squadron, but not how many. So he's kind of playing with numbers here. Deployment timing. The Air Force was in stride of trialing a new Air Force presentation construct. First deployment kicked off in October. So they were deployed. Other backfill deployers from the service's other B-1 wing at Diest to sustain its home station activity. Because of the senior sponsorship political profile which of this deployment, which is proving the readiness assessments budget proposals, no exceptions to the deployment were granted according to insiders. We don't know what this had on staffing. And then group change of command timing. He involves culture and leadership in 2 squadrons. He says airman is not a good place, which is a way of saying fundamentals of the operation are shaky. This directly targets the competence of the ops group commander. A little surprised in the aftermath of the report's publication, the Colonel Kimball was fired. What the report leaves out, though, is that he had been in his role less than 6 months at the time of the accident. That's not enough time to be responsible for the entire arc of degradation that he's described in the AIB. Nor does Lord mention his predecessor is now his boss, the wing commander. Prior to that, that's who had the role for 2 years. But he concludes leadership is driving this problem. By leaving this out, lack the tenure solely responsible for this organization, he avoids wrestling with thornier questions about whether and to what extent those issues existed under Oakley, and therefore whether the previous commander bears any culpability. No surprise, the B-1 community went above and beyond asking whether he's been scapegoated. Every taxpayer should also. Unspoken presumptions and missing support. The absence of cultural analysis is a huge problem for this AIB report, and this is unfortunate because there was an opportunity here, ironically, for the Air Force to take a cultural step forward. Mishap pilots usually blame pilots or crew and stop short of asserting much more. But because in any mishap chain, you can find fault with how a pilot performed. Too often, there's more complicated story that gets told. But the idea of holding leaders accountable rests on a knife edge. Get it right, you make the rank and file look more trusting and confident. Get it wrong, and it looks like scapegoating, which undermines trust and fosters cynicism. Wow.
Yeah.
It starts with a working theory, then find people to support as plausible. Bad presumptions lead to bad solutions. Bad solutions lead to repeat mishaps. And then planning to fail. There are contrary schools of thought in the Air Force aviation community when it comes to subject of mission planning. He's a traditionalist as a pilot climbing the ladder of qualification, adhered to custom having the day prior to training mission completely protected by schedulers. Wow, when does that ever happen? Later, squadron commander extended and helped protect this norm from the clutches of bureaucrats. They did not plan. They flew their mission as a show up and go. We'll talk about that. There's some who have privately questioned why he was permitted to lead this AIB and publish this report. He shares the community with the involved commanders. He knows them. He competes with them for promotion. Oh, wow. Don't see the clear foundation to ask these questions. All are incomplete by design. But his firing, if necessary, is not sufficient. Should make Americans worry we're better than this. All right. So, Gonky, let's talk about a couple of things from that.
That's a lot. That's a lot, dude.
That is a lot. So I agree with some of the things he's talking about. So, from my own experience, again, views are my own and not the DOD and do not represent any rank or anything. I'm just a civilian right now. I have seen this cultural lack of accountability from senior leaders when one leader makes a mistake out of his own vindictive nature and gets it wrong. What they will often do is circle the wagons and find who the lowest man on the totem pole is that they can hatchet without causing a greater disturbance in the force. Because the bureaucracy's job is to protect itself. And what they will do is they will always use the rallying cry, well, I have to back my commanders. And so you'll see that from the higher levels, especially when generals and stuff, because they know each other. They always know each other. They've grown up together, they've served together, and they've done this path together. And the lack of accountability within, they're like, well, I picked that guy. There's no way because that means I'm a bad leader if he's a bad leader or she's a bad leader. That can't be both. So obviously it's somebody else. And in this case, it was the pilots. Or the organization or this group commander that had only been in there for 6 months, because the wing commander can't be the because then we have to find a new wing commander, and that's a bigger scandal. We can't fire a wing commander. So I see that argument. I see what he's saying there. Conversely, this mishap doesn't happen if he stays on glide path and keeps his throttles where they're supposed to be. I mean, that's just basic airmanship. So, but two things can be true, right? Two things. To me, I agree. And the show and go is I'm sorry, it's bullshit. That's just you're a professional aviator. You know, if you can't show and go, like I don't like, how many times have you ever, Gonky, planned the day of, planned an LFE and flown it in the, like, come on, man, you're a professional. That's just a terrible excuse. But the other stuff is valid. The AIB needs to be factual, and it needs to be causal, and it needs to give you a reason that this happens and how we're going to fix it in the future. And if you just throw spears without something constructive, maybe that is a valid assessment that this was more than just, you know, I'm trying to do it, because it did feel very personal. But you have a different side to this too.
Well, going back to the stuff that you just talked about, I didn't realize that he was like, okay, in the Air Force, if there's a major accident like this, do they always pick somebody within the community to investigate it, or do they try to, right? Isn't it always
it's not necessarily. I mean, they pick somebody, you know, I mean, typically you want somebody in the community on the board, right?
Right, but not the guy who's running it, right?
Not within the same group of people.
Right, because they don't want things like, I guess I'm reading between the lines maybe, but they don't want like Lord being like, well, here's my chance to get rid of some promotion competition, right? Well, they don't want that.
I mean, so the problem with the B1 community is the same problem with the B52 community, right? Like, you need somebody with subject matter expertise, and you need an 06 because of the level of damage and all that stuff. So they needed an 06, and you had to find somebody outside of that group. Like, it's easier, you know, if a F-2035 goes down at Hill, okay, well, we've got other places we can go pull a fighter guy. But the bomber community is so small, it's very hard not to get into that.
Like, I don't know, why didn't they have like a B-52 guy running the investigation, or a B2? Like, that's my only. I didn't think about it the first time we kind of read through it.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, oh yeah, that. No kidding. I mean, they're basically on the same level, and you know, this would be a chance for him to eliminate some of his competition, I guess, if you will.
I'm not willing, without meeting the man. Like, I get what they're saying. I get the bro level thing, and I get toxic leadership and stuff, but I'm not willing to go as far as to say this is an attempt to advance one's career. It could be. I buy the toxicity of one person who's gonna, you know, who's gonna pick at scabs when they shouldn't, but I don't know that I buy 100% that this is somebody who's using it as a way to climb the ladder.
Yeah, I'm not saying that it's like 100% the reason why he's doing it, but it raises my eyebrow that they would even appoint him to do that. But
there's the answer. Pilot member of the board must be qualified on the Mishap jet.
Right.
That doesn't necessarily mean the board president. That just means the pilot member has to be.
Yeah, you need a representative who can, you know, smartly analyze what's going on. But I don't know, man. I've got a couple buddies who flew the B1, and they talked to me a little bit because they watched the video.
Apparently people watch. Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, he called me up. He's like, man, you know, I just want to say thanks. But basically, what he told me marries up with what you just read, you know, good dudes. And, you know, as far as the community is concerned, you know, the B1 is a very expensive airplane, maintenance intensive. Those guys don't fly a whole lot. And it's, you know, even active duty guys, is struggle bus just to keep your basic quals, right? So, yeah, they mentioned it in that long list of things that you just read, but especially now we have the crisis of, and it's hand in hand, not enough money, not enough people. And that's just going to magnify problems within the culture, in my opinion. But I mean,
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've seen the darker side of the Air Force leadership vacuum. And I
What Mover's saying is we've seen this movie before, a little closer to home.
Yeah.
It's
man. And you know, the naive side of me wants to believe that, you know, every officer has the Air Force core values at heart and, you know, just wants to serve their country, support and defend the Constitution, all that stuff that we kind of hold dear. But the reality is, having seen it firsthand,
right,
I know that to be not true in a lot of cases. And I know some people are incredibly self-serving, and not only are they self-serving, but then they project it. You know, one of the things I saw in my trials and tribulations was that they will project what they are guilty of onto you.
100%.
So in this case, right, where you're starting to talk toxic leadership, toxic command and stuff, if what that article and what the viewer said is correct, that is some projection. You know, that is a little bit of, well, people said that about me. No, look at this unit, you know, and you start pulling at a thread. Sometimes you will be both wrong and right. You know, you'll be wrong in the sense that, well, you didn't get the whole picture, but you'll be right in the sense that, well, some of the stuff does need to change. There is some stuff here that we do need to work on.
Well, I mean, if you're in the B1 community, I think it would be impossible for you to have a career in the B1 and not have, you know, done some of these. It's part of the culture, right? I mean, it's just how business gets done, right or wrong.
Well, to me, you know, if this guy wanted to be a man of the people, you know, if you're really wanting to stand on a soapbox, because that's what that AIB read like to me. It read like okay,
said,
we went from, hey, here's what happened, here's your facts, thank you, good night, to and another thing, and then another thing,
and he was fat.
Yeah,
he was fat.
He wasn't wearing gloves, and oh my God, if you don't wear gloves, you can't be. But if you really wanted to do that, you know, my simple mind would have said, okay, I'm going to use this as a way to champion for my people.
Yeah.
You know, and I would have said, we're not flying enough. We're undermanned. You put us on this ridiculous ops tempo that we are hacking the mission in spite of, you know, because that's what I think the American public and people don't understand is we do a lot of things in spite of the obstacles. You know, we are making it work with what we have. That's not to say that we're making it work. We're just making it work with what little bit we can, because you've got dedicated people that are good at their jobs that can do more with less. But in a perfect world, you would have full squadron manning, you would have proficiency, you would have, you know, I mean, yeah, basic flying skills go out the window. We talked about that law of primacy.
Yeah.
And the other thing that happens when you're men manned and men trained is you push weak swimmers ahead that should not be pushed forward, because we can't afford to lose somebody.
Yeah. And you know, I would argue, I mean, I would say most of my military career, we've always been a little bit short, but like nowadays, it just seems like we're not a little short. We're a lot short.
Dude.
Like, I mean, yeah, you know, units can absorb some of that, but then you get to a point where it's like, you know, there's no more blood to squeeze out of this thing, you know?
I was like, I feel like the Air Force is sunsetting with my career. Like, I feel like we're on a parallel track. Cause I was talking to a buddy of mine. He's like, yeah, you know, the generals are coming over. They're closing down this squadron too. He's like, it looks exactly like it did, you know, down at Tyndall, where the generals are promising all that stuff. And I'm like, so there's another one, you know, and then you've got another squadron that may or may not go away in, you know, 2027, because what's the root cause of this? We have put all our money into things that don't produce combat effectiveness and ridden jets into the ground, figuratively and literally, for the past 20 years that were never meant to have those cycles on them, and not replace them with the numbers that we needed to replace them with, because you need numbers. You need jets. You need the small amount of high performing, you know, top tip of the spear, you know, all the gee whiz, but you also need the workhorses.
Yep.
Look at every war we've ever been in. You need numbers.
Yeah.
You need numbers, and you need the ability to fly the crap out of them. So you get what we talked about in the previous segment, dudes that are like, can do this blindfolded.
Yeah.
Because that's all they do.
Yeah.
Not dudes that are like you and me in an airliner where we're like, okay.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Yeah, that's right. Uh-oh.
I keep
Did you disconnect yourself?
I keep hitting the mute button. Anyway, yeah. So I appreciate the B1 bro for sending that.
Yeah.
I hope we don't get fired, but at this point, whatever.
Probably will.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah. Can he beat my retirement paperwork if he tries to fire me? It's like, can I retire before I get fired?
Yeah. Doug, you started that. I'm still not reading it. So we're going to the augmented realities, who gives, how much ranch can you buy with 10 Aussie dollars?
I don't know. I don't even know what the exchange rate is now.
On a separate note, the B1 is good looking jet. Enjoy the onions.
Yeah. It's an awesome looking jet.
And then Chad McChaddington says B1 is hydraulic hell.
I bet.
Yeah. Well, Gonky, you want to do the middle?
Cover them all? We got them all.
I mean, we're almost at the 2. We got the V22 intel, but I think we can save that for next time because I need to.
I got you.
I mean, we can talk about it if you want.
No, dude, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I know. I didn't even look at the time. I was like, man, you're right. We're almost up at.
Yeah, we're almost at the end of our thing, and
we were ranting again.
Yeah, well, it's too bad we didn't have Wombat.
Yeah,
I think it did pretty good for just the two of you.
Yeah. Thanks. Well, I mean, there was probably a couple minutes where Mover was gone.
Minutes.
It's just
minutes.
I mean.
It felt like hours, Mover.
Felt like hours. I was like, where'd he go? I don't know. Think he's gonna come back? I don't know.
All right. So this is a rehash of the previous one. Drive fast, take chances. This is actually about race cars, but sometimes in life you just have to put the pedal to the metal and go do the next thing. You know, when you're hesitant, my great friend and scholar, Dr. Narby, from a small school, once told me, don't borrow trouble. And, you know, I find myself, because I've had such a tumultuous career and life, you know, psychologically, I'm sure there's some analysis that goes into that. You know, when you've experienced loss at a young age and you've experienced loss throughout your life and a lot of things didn't work out as you thought, you get to the point where you start second guessing everything, you know, because especially when you've got friends that tell you do whatever the opposite mover would do is, and just pick that one. But sometimes in life, you just have to drive fast and take chances. Now, within the speed limit, of course, I'm not going to tell you that. Take it to a track. But when you find yourself in a situation where I've found myself where I have avoided something, or I've put it off for a significant amount of time, or what I sometimes love to do is make no decision at all and just let it sit and then hope it works out. But if you do that, you miss out on opportunities. And so when you have a big decision every now and then, sometimes it's good just take that chance and feel like it'll work out for the better, because if you borrow that trouble and worry about it, well, that does nobody any good. And I think, you know, Doug, you and I have talked about things that we've said, man, I don't want to do this. I'm starting to dread it. And then you go do it. And next thing you know, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And we've learned to debrief that.
Yeah. And so you have to remember that feeling for next time. So I made a pretty big decision recently, and I was still second guessing it up to like today. But sometimes you just have to, you know, hammer down and go, it's going to work out. It's going to be fun. And it's going to be a new adventure. And because it's something you've always wanted to do. And don't talk yourself out of your dreams just because you've previously, you know, things haven't worked out, because you don't want to be a prisoner of your own past. But it's good to have friends that you can bounce things off of. It's good to have friends that encourage you, because those friends are the ones you're going to thank when it actually does work out in the end. So Again, 988, mental health counseling, one military one source, all good outlets. If you need help, if you're thinking of hurting yourself or somebody else, or even 911, sometimes there's therapy dogs out there that'll help you. Gonky, what do you got?
Well, you hit the highlights as usual. No,
you can start these if you want. Like, you don't have to make me start them every time.
No, I would get done talking. You'd be like, "That's completely not the point." It's like,
why? Yeah,
I'll just edit that out. No, drive fast and take chances. It's I don't know. I guess my whole perspective on it is, life is kind of what you make of it. It can be, and I've reminded. I'm not going to do any quotes, but
Tyson.
No, what's the movie where Will Ferrell? He's like he's an accountant for the cops, like the safest possible job, right? So like if you're
the other guys,
is it the it is the
he
other
was a
guys.
detective. He wasn't
right
accountant.
Yeah, he's an accountant for the cops there, right? So like his whole thing was he wanted like the safest, most secure thing ever.
Gator don't play them.
After being Gator in college, right? So I'm not saying go out and be Gator, but life's kind of what you make of it. I mean, as a Christian, even in my church, our pastor, he just says, God wants people to go out there and do things in life, and doing things in life, in my mind, is you have to take chances. If you never take any chances, nothing ever gets done. Mover and I, just going to try to fly fast jets in the military, we had to take a chance on it, right? We had to apply. And it's always, you're always going to be scared. But for me, part of it is I don't want to have any regrets when I'm old. I know maybe that's a little selfish, but old. I know, but when I get older,
tomorrow,
because when I was younger, all the heroes that I read about, Chuck Yeager, even like, Muhammad Ali, I mean, just all the greats, right? Sports, military, whatever, every great story has, some point in that person's life, they had to take a chance. And I just think if you don't, you're shortchanging yourself. But it can be stressful. It can be hard. But that's really all I have. I mean, Mover, you pretty much nailed it. Doug, you clean it up.
I'm gonna quote Hunter Thompson because I love to do that. Hunter Thompson said, "Life should not be a journey to the grave with the intention of arriving safely in a pretty and well-preserved body, but rather to skid in broadside in a cloud of smoke, thoroughly used up, totally worn out, and loudly proclaiming, 'Wow, what a ride.'"
Doug can never start these, Mover, but I like it. I love it.
Well, I didn't say it, and I was smart enough to go check the quote before I did.
Are you sure Mike didn't say that? Are you sure Tyson
could
did? Look, Mover's checking it right now. He's like, "Who
could have been Mover?"
This used to be. Wait, hold on. This used to be before I went to pilot training. Remember when MySpace and Facebook started? We had quotes. I had this quote because this was my favorite Shakespeare quote. Yeah, not Mike Tyson. Our doubts are traitors and make us lose the good we oft might win by fearing to attempt.
Yeah.
It's hard to beat Shakespeare.
Man.
I mean, Mike Tyson sometimes.
You miss some 100% of the shots you don't take, Mike Tyson.
Yeah, you guys have been there. I mean, everybody's been there. I don't ever remember a time, and maybe it's because they happened and I forgot them on purpose, but I don't ever remember a time when you get all those metaphors. I floored it. I twisted the grip. I took the shot. And I remember a lot of times when I did that and it made me really happy.
Right. Yeah.
And that's something, Mover, you brought it up. We actually had that conversation a couple of times after we did something really cool. It's like, what were our reasons to think about not doing this?
It's a little cliche, but you don't feel. Some of the times I felt most alive is when I've almost died. Right.
Well, that's true too.
So I'm not saying, go out there and do something super crazy, but there's been numerous times in my life where I've almost died. And I thought, man, I am alive and I like it. Right.
Also, for the record, Mover, I stole that quote that you quoted from my wife. The wife who worked to put me through graduate school to get the doctorate.
I'm just looking at the Mike Tyson quotes here, and I'm trying to find the one that probably this one. This is Mike Tyson saying this, or Gonky. I know how hard it is to be a woman, especially a black woman.
He did not say that, did he?
He said it. Says it right here.
Okay, I definitely didn't say that for sure.
Yeah. So, yeah. I don't know everything else. That's a great way to end that segment.
Yeah, that is great. Now put a stamp on it. We're banned.
Yeah.
Like
you're talking about take chances. That segment before was pretty much us taking a chance. But he also said, as long as we persevere and endure, we can get anything we want.
Yeah.
This is still Mike Tyson?
This is still Mike Tyson.
No, what?
He's pretty sharp.
Yeah, no, he is. I've listened to a couple of his podcasts. Like when he talks, it's pretty good. Some of it's a little crazy, but
probably this one is on the crazy. I want to rip out his heart and feed it to Lennox Lewis. I want to kill people. I want to rip their stomachs out and eat their children.
Yeah, yes, I remember.
So,
I remember that.
Probably, you got to pick and choose which Mike Tyson quote you want.
You want the older Mike Tyson. He's
mellowed out a little bit.
He's mellowed out, yeah.
All right, and here we go. Midnightly from the audience. Don't trouble until trouble troubles you is an old saying. How much trouble could have troubled? Here comes Treble. It's a band. Chili, Bluey's mom. Hey, here's some more Aussie dollars for you blokes. Also, my condolences about Margo.
Oh, dude.
Wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you don't take chances, Gonky. Waited too long.
Right. No.
Margot Robbie passes you by.
I mean, you had a chance.
Yeah. If we could have got this podcast going a little faster.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So T-Goat says, Mover is buying a Mustang. No. And then Patrick just says Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson.
Have fun storming the castle.
Yeah. Thanks, Skid.
And that's it, man. That's the end of the show.
Wow. Gosh, 2 hours flies by, dude.
2 hours and 2 minutes.
Yeah. This is my last day at 45. Better enjoy it.
Yeah, now you're on the backside. Now
You're in your late 40s.
No, late 40s starts at 47, Doug. I've already done that.
Does it say that somewhere?
3-year segments.
44 to 46 is
mid 40s. Yeah. So I'm still mid 40s, you know.
Yeah.
So
I have been 42 for like 2 years now because I can't do math.
He's aging in Gonky years.
Yeah. Are you on a lunar calendar? Because that'll get you.
I only turned 42 in February, but for some reason I have thought, like, I guess now I've just given up on it, and I'm just like, you know what? I'll just take the older age. It's fine.
Yeah.
I've given up on.
I just embrace it now.
Caring anymore. Well, let's get rid of that banner. We're in the goodbye section of the show.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for joining us tonight.
Yeah. Next Tuesday, I've got to go. I think I can say this. I am going to the Grand Canyon.
That's all you can say, dude. Everything else is
that's pretty cool. I'm glad you decided to do that.
I still don't want to. Because remember we were just talking about you talk yourself out of cool things.
Maybe they'll let you fly a helicopter.
Well, there is a tour, but I don't know if I'm going to go on it, man. I mean,
well, what Mover's getting to is the show will not be on Monday.
Correct. The show will be on Tuesday.
Again.
Tuesday.
That's right. Tuesday. So
technically we will see you next Tuesday.
1 week from today.
And then the next week, we don't know.
Yeah.
And then the next week is Airwolf.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So we got a lot going on. So hopefully we're not canceled after today. Guess we'll find out.
We'll find out. Never know. The next show, Mover and I might legitimately be retired.
I don't have enough time yet. Wow. John says, hey, I'm 47 and we're fighting words. Just like, I don't want to break a hip. Patrick says late 40s, Mike Tyson.
Yeah. Well, if he told me, yeah. Okay.
If
late
he
40s.
told you,
if he told me, I'd be like, all right, Mike, whatever, dude. Just don't hit me. That's right.
yeah.
Sir.
Did he ever fight that dude? Wasn't he supposed to fight somebody? A YouTube guy?
Oh man, yeah, I can't think of his name. So the chat will get it immediately.
Jake Paul, Ron Paul.
Yeah, that's it. Jake.
Paul.
Was it? Yeah. It was
Did
Jake.
they fight?
Rand Paul? I don't know. Somebody.
I hope not, because I wanted to see that.
Dude,
if it happened and I didn't see it, I'll feel really bad.
He's 58. He can probably still land a. Dude, he probably. It wouldn't be pretty.
Logan
Paul.
There we go.
Logan Paul. Yeah. Nice.
Logan Lucky
Yeah.
Logan. All right, Gonky, we've reached the end of this segment.
Alrighty.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks for joining us.
Night,
yeah,
folks.
thanks for joining us. We'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.